I'm Doug Gibson, and I'm with Steve D. Stones, and we're doing another cycle in our On the Outskirts of Hollywood. We just did Titus Modi, and now we're doing Susan Cassidy. Susan Cassidy was an actress who was in 4 films for cult director Andy Milligan. You know, Steve, I really should say On the Outskirts of New York cinema, because I don't think Susan Cassidy ever went anywhere near Hollywood. All right.
Not very likely.
She's in 3 movies. She has a big starring role in Torture Dungeon, which Steve and I are watching right now with the sound really low as we do this podcast. She played Heather McGregor. You can never forget Heather McGregor thanks to The Wedding Planner, right? But we'll get back to that later. And she's also in Bloodthirsty Butchers, where she plays a floozy nightclub singer. And her scenes, even though it's a British film, were filmed in America. And she's in Seeds, which if you haven't seen Seeds, you haven't seen a film where you're literally screaming throughout it.
And let's not forget Gutter Trash from 1969.
Which unfortunately is lost, but the way they're finding Andy Milligan films, I think they'll find Gutter Trash someday. She played okay, let's just go to Gutter Trash because it stars Candy Hammond, who actually married Andy Milligan. Now, when we talk, we're going to assume a lot of you know about this. Candy Hammond was an actress that Milligan used in Seeds also. But in that film, Susan Cassidy plays Minky, who is apparently Coco's sex slave. Now, Gutter Trash is about a woman recounting her life, her wild life, all right? But it's not around anymore. See, you want to know something really interesting? I'm going to digress slightly. I'm reading what's his name, Stephen Thrower's book with the dungeon thing, and they showed where films played. The only Milligan film that played in Salt Lake City was The Degenerates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's the one that within a month or so we should have a copy of. It was a refound film.
Wow.
All right, but let's go a little bit to Susan Cassidy because she is the focus. She was an attractive brunette. And she was rather uninhibited. It's a nice way of saying she didn't mind doing nudity.
In all her films.
In all her films, at least the 3 we have right now. And she's a sex slave in Gutter Trash. She probably was in that one too. But Steve, tell us a little bit first about Torture Dungeon. Who does she play?
She plays a character by the name of Heather McGregor. And there is a man in this film played by Gerald Jacuzzo, who is Norman, Duke of Norwich, and he's trying to ascend to the throne of England by killing off those that stand in his way. So at some point, Heather McGregor, played by Susan Cassidy, has to, or doesn't have to, but
I think she has to.
She ends up marrying the
moronic.
The nitwit, played by Hal Borschke, right?
Yes, he's always picking his
Although
nose.
I forget his name in this film.
That's all right. It's not necessary. So anyway, she's sort of pressed into doing that, and they kill her boyfriend. Remember that?
Yeah.
They used Andy's famous, what's it called? Pitchfork murder, swirling camera at the end.
Impaling, yeah.
Yeah. And so one thing Heather McGregor, and she's really an appealing character. She seems to run around practically naked in the film, even when she's dressed, right?
Her breasts always seem to kind of spill out of the front of her dress in almost every scene.
Yeah, and if you watch that film, Andy Milligan was a dressmaker. And he made these... Raffine. He made these clothes on the cheap. In fact, if you see Maggie Rogers, who's fantastic in this movie, by the way, also great in Seeds, when she's screaming and turns around in the dungeon, you see all the pins that are hitting up her clothes. And so Heather McGregor is wearing these... By the way, this is Richard III, a whacked out version, sort of a gay drama of Richard III. And so Heather McGregor... These clothes are too large to put it mildly. There's also a scene where it's shot in Staten Island and she's running naked through a little stream.
And that's coming up here very shortly. We're almost to that point.
We can't show you that because we'd get in trouble. But I'm not obsessing on her nudity. The thing is, she just has this natural, uninhibited feeling throughout the film. I mean, even when she's dressed and barely wearing nothing, she's just casual there, you know, just very relaxed and everything.
We probably won't get to the marriage scene, but in that scene, as Jimmy McDonough points out in his book about Milligan, he says that the two actors in that scene, Susan Cassidy and Hal Borske, their clothes literally fell off the moment that Milligan said cut. You know, the end of the scene, their clothing literally fell off their body.
That is an interesting anecdote. In the book is called "The Ghastly One: The Sex Core Netherworld" of filmmaker Andy Milligan by Jimmy McDonough. I know he may have updated it some, although I don't know if the book was updated, but about 5 years ago.
I think the front cover was changed too.
Yeah, I wish I could have afforded that because they also had scripts from films that were lost. But here they're. We're all waiting to get pretty soon Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and The Degenerates, plus a new documentary on Milligan.
From Severin Films.
And we have the Severin Dungeon. That's what we're watching right now, the Blu-ray from that. I think that, what do you think about McGregor in, let's talk about The Wedding Planner. Now, I'm not even 100% sure that's a woman, okay? To be honest.
I'm not either.
But, and Milligan, if you read McDonough's book, doesn't even remember her name. She's not in the credits. Or she or he's not in the credits.
I think it's Donna Whitfield, isn't that?
No, it's
her?
not Donna Whitfield. It's
okay,
not,
I don't know.
not.
I wrote that in my notes here thinking that was her.
It's not her. I checked. Nobody knows who she is. It's quite amazing. But she just dances around and gives this incredible thing where she'll sing Heather McGregor, Heather McGregor, Heather McGregor, and Susan Cassidy's looking at her with a bemused expression throughout.
She's probably the funnest, most playful character in the entire film.
The film is incredible satire. I just love that guy in the left, right, even though people can't see it. He was like a filmmaker who lived around, not a filmmaker, he was a merchant who lived around there. You know, just a friend of Andy, and he got furious when he saw the finished product of the film. I was listening to Alex DeSalvo, who's a Milligan obsessive, that's what he says. And he did a commentary. We're going to interview him in April, by the way, for Plan 9 Crunch. How do you think McGregor does against when she matches wits with Gerald Jacuzzo, who is the evil Richard III type character?
Now, when you say matches wits, you mean that she really
tries to challenge his obvious thing of trying to kill everyone and take over.
I'm trying to remember how that turns out. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but this is my favorite Milligan film.
Well, he's about to get her in the end. I'm not going to go too far in case people want to watch this, but honestly, if you're a Milligan fan, you should have watched it by now. But Maggie Rogers, who I won't give away, there's a little bit of twist at the end also. Like I said, this movie was made for $10,000. You know, I was listening to Salvo, and he talked about how people writing scripts, Milligan would pay them $1 a day, you know, to transcribe or even write. And actors were supposed to get $50 a day. And then DeSalvo kind of, in the commentary, it kind of wink, did they really get paid, you know, and everything like that. Now, Milligan was not, here's the scene where it looks like a stream you might see in the Toxic Avenger, right?
See, this, you mentioned earlier when you and I were talking about Susan Cassidy off camera or off sound that you're recording now, that this is supposed to be a wig, but that looks very natural to me, her hair.
It's not according to the commentary I saw. In fact, you need to see a close-up a little bit. But anyways, like I said, she was an actress who just appeared very natural, very comfortable in her skin in the film, all right, more or less.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to be bashful or ashamed.
Yeah, or anything. And she is one person, and we're going to talk later about what she may have done post-Milligan, but she's one individual. First, I don't even know if she's alive right now. I do know what she was doing 10, 15 years ago.
We would love to speak to her. We would love to interview her.
I have a feeling she doesn't probably want to do interviews because she simply hasn't shown up on any of these Blu-rays or anything. You know, and it's been 50 years and everything. And a lot of Milligan actors, if you look at the extras on these tapes and everything, have come out and talked.
Including Gerald in this film.
Yeah.
Or Jerry, excuse me.
And Hal Borske. A lot of them have passed away now, but they were lived long enough to be able to talk about these things.
See, this is what we were talking about here. Her breasts are really spilling out of this dress. Like this happens the whole film.
Aren't we happy that this is a podcast audio only? But it talks about these are Milligan's clothes, and it looks by design, frankly. All right, I don't know for sure. So Torture Dungeon is, I once showed Torture Dungeon to a friend, and he thought, how could a film be this bad? But you have to remember, he made it for $10,000.
Well, Milligan, like Ed Wood or Larry Buchanan, or so many cult filmmakers like Jerry Warren, you have to really watch these films over and over again before you start to have a deeper appreciation.
Yeah, that's true.
I never thought this movie was bad, even the first time I saw it.
The first time we saw it was in an apartment of yours in Ogden. We got one of those big garish VHS clamshells.
Yeah. We had to pay like over $60 for it.
Yeah, it's considered a rare one. So here she is. She is the star of this movie, and she's a memorable actress. I want to talk a little bit more about some other films she made. Another one was called Seeds. Now tell us what Seeds is about.
Oh boy, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me.
Well, I can do it if you want me to.
I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Okay, well, Seeds is a dysfunctional family from hell.
Which is a common theme in
Milligan's films, based on the fact that he had an overbearing mother, worse than overbearing, evil mother, you read in the Ghastly one. So there's this matriarch, and she's in a wheelchair, Maggie Rogers, who, by the way, is someone we should do an Outskirts show on sometime, because she's brilliant.
She's one of Milligan's best actresses, really.
Yeah, in fact, Seeds, the Academy would never consider Seeds. There she is right here. She plays the woman who keeps the dungeon, and she has like a eye that's all deformed. But Seeds, I would think that she might have been in another world, might have been considered for an Oscar nomination. She's so good in that movie. So, okay, and Seeds has all the family coming back, all right, for this Christmas celebration. And they're all horrible people, okay? Or they're all very dysfunctional people. And they're all wondering if the old crone will die or something, And one daughter, Candy Hammond, who should also be a show sometime, is living there with her because the will tells her to. And Candy's the one behind getting everybody back. But I don't want to get into the plot, okay? Susan Cassidy plays Barbara, who is having an affair with a priest, played by Neil Flanagan. All right.
And in that film, she's got her natural short hair.
Yeah, I do think I see those little cuts over there. I don't think that's her hair. But we can argue about that. To find out.
No, I'm not arguing. Yeah, it looks so believable to me.
The problem is she made this movie around the same time, I think, as Seeds. All right, that's the thing.
Milligan was really active from 1968 to 1970.
That's when he made half his films.
Most of these films were made in that time period.
14 to the 28 were made in that time period. So anyways, Barbara is having an affair with the priest, who's Matthew. And Matthew, for some reason, actually takes her to the weekend gathering for Christmas. And she's like she's not a nice person in that movie. She's sort of a manipulator, in the film. And then Michael, who is the eldest son, who's had an affair with Candy's character, Candy Hammonds. She goes up to him and seduces him. All right. And they think, once again, totally uninhibited. All right. And so they hear someone knock at the door. They think it's Matthew. I'm not going to give away who it was, but very soon after, Susan Cassidy goes to take a bath, and she's listening to a radio that's plugged in, and something comes and pushes it in the water, electrocuting her. Now, when I was watching the commentary here for Torture Dungeon, it talked about how they were having like flash powder, and they said that was quite painful for her when that happened, when they were simulating electrocution with that.
Oh, it was still painful with the flash powder.
Yeah, and everything going off. So it's not a major role, and she's the first to die in this movie, but it's a different role from what we get in Torture Dungeon, which is basically her most sympathetic role in the film that she was in.
Well, let's see. She plays a dancer in Bloodthirsty Butchers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a second, because that's something that's important too. Bloodthirsty Butchers was originally started in England. You remember our dear departed Sherman Hirsch used to insist there are no films in England? Well,
for those of you that don't know Sherman Hirsch, he wrote the screenplay for Milligan's last film, Surgikill.
He did, although Milligan really poked into it a lot. We don't blame Sherman for thinking that, because Milligan, I have no doubt, deliberately lied to him because he enjoyed doing things like that. And DeSalvo even mentions that, how Milligan would sometimes like to just lie, all right, and stuff like that. But of course, when the movie, I think Sherman stopped talking about this when Nightbirds was finally released, okay, about 13 years ago. But anyways, Bloodthirsty Butchers was filmed in England. Now, Milligan had a good deal going with a guy named Leslie, and I can't remember his last name, darn it, with the Compton Cinema.
But I was jokingly going to say Leslie Dan Duvin from...
It's not Leslie Dan Duvin, we should also do another Outskirts thing. But his father turned out to be as big a jerk as Milligan can be, and they couldn't get together.
You're talking about Michigan's? No.
I'm talking about the guy who owned this theater in England where Milligan was making films.
Okay.
So anyways, Bloodthirsty Butchers never got released. None of the English films got released in England, although they probably played there later. But Milligan went back to William Mishkin, who he was in this love-hate relationship with because he needed the money. I think Milligan would probably get like $20,000 from Mishkin and then keep 10 for himself and then use 10 to film the films. That's, so he needs to film, he needs more stuff. Also, they wanted to, remember the film Bloodthirsty Butchers wasn't long enough right now, they said. And I noticed that. They went back to America. They took John Miranda, who was the star of that film, and they filmed a scene where our hero today, Susan Cassidy, played Anna, a nightclub singer.
Well, and we should mention that Bloodthirsty Butchers is based on Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street.
Barber Street, I think. Was it Fleet?
I think it's Fleet Street.
Well, we can check that out. And so he asked Susan Cassidy to be in the film. She plays... Once again, she's wearing clothes where you can see right through them, all right? And there are some nude scenes in this film, too. She's having an affair with the owner of the theater, and she's asking for more money from him. There's a scene where she gets him to go on his knees and admit he adores her, and then she spits in his mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty disgusting.
But then he catches her beginning to have sex with John Miranda, and they have a big fight. You know what's so interesting? This I love about Milligan. Do you know who intercedes in that?
In that particular scene?
You don't. It's okay. You haven't watched it recently. It's a drag queen. He's the peacemaker and everything. All right, and that's the first scene she's in Bloodthirsty Butchers, and then there's another scene where she starts to blackmail him, Miranda Sweeney. And she's going to tell about their relationship. So what does Sweeney do?
He kills her?
Yeah, he strangles her to death. Mm. Bloodthirsty Butchers is a very brutal movie. There's no doubt about that. So those are the four films we mentioned, three that we have seen that Susan Cassidy was in.
One that's considered lost.
Yeah, and I believe someday, because if they found Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, if they found The Degenerates, if they found a reel of The Filthy Five, I'm beginning to think they're going to find.
Well, and Gutter Trash is supposed to be X-rated.
Well, X-rated in 1969 wasn't, because this was pre I Am Curious Yellow stuff, I think. All right. Once I rented Midnight Cowboy because I wanted to see an X-rated movie.
And it was...
All I saw was I'm not going to say it. It really would be an R today, all right? I didn't know what Midnight Cowboy was. It's actually a pretty good film. Rato Rizzo, Al Pacino, and John Voight.
I think it won some Academy Awards, didn't it?
I think it won Best Picture, actually.
Yeah.
Although it hasn't... You don't really see much of it anymore, the film and everything. We're about to see the... patented pitchfork killing with the swirling camera here.
Which is a Milligan trademark. There's always somebody that seems to get impaled with the pitchfork in his movies.
I know. So what happened to Susan Cassidy? She's no longer in any movies.
Well, again, we would love to hear from her. We would love to talk to her.
I don't know if she's embarrassed by these films. I hope she isn't, because they're good movies. I mean, you know, in that book, Venom by Stephen Thrower, my friend Beth Porter, who's passed away, who's in The Naked Temptress, and also in Love and Death, Woody Allen film, and also in another major film with Roger Redford based on The Great Gatsby. But she's quoted as saying that the Naked Witch, by the way, only played as Naked Witch for like one day. It became The Naked Temptress, and not confused with the Buchanan film. But she said, she's quoted as saying, they went to London and they saw The Naked Temptress playing. And so they went to see it. And she said, well, I wish it wasn't just the raincoat crowd that watched it, you know, because it's a pretty good film. Personally, I think that The Naked Witch would be a film I'd really like to see.
And we're hopeful that that's another Milligan film that's discovered, that's out there. It's in somebody's vault out there in the world, and somebody's going to bring it. Somebody's going to find it, and we hopefully we get a release.
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is, even though there's nudity in these films, they're not really pornographic movies. I mean, you don't watch an Andy Milligan film trying to get aroused, okay? And the nudity is just is not the kind that the raincoat crowd might like, all right? To be honest.
And it has a lot to do with the way he films it.
Yeah, too, also.
It's not very erotic.
Yeah. But that's why I think it'd be nice to talk to her someday if she's still out there. She'd be in her 80s now. But I did on
There's the swirl camera.
Yeah, here it comes coming up. Well, no, they're not watching with us. I'm going to still keep talking.
Yeah.
I went to a tribute to Andy Milligan Facebook page, asking if anybody knew anything about Susan Cassidy.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give the name, but one gentleman, and you'll get his name if you go there, but I haven't asked him if I could reveal it in the podcast, so I'm not going to. He gave some information you can find. He put links to where you see Susan Cassidy. She worked as a travel coordinator for a long time for an agency, all right? And they interview her. Now, she doesn't mention anything about her films, but she talks about being in many, many, many different places. South Africa is one of her favorite places to go. And she's been doing it for a long time. And so she was a professional travel coordinator. She talked about being multilingual and having a master's degree. And so she was working as late as 2012 or so. And then there's another site. It's a Manhattan Society site. I don't want to give the website of any of these. You can go to the tribute to Andy Milligan and look it up if you want to, where you see photos of people. It was some kind of social group website, and it's still up, where you see Susan Cassidy. And you can tell from these photos that it's Susan Cassidy, all right? I mean, it just looks just like her. And so that's there. And also, the same gentleman told me there's a defunct website where Cassidy said that Manhattan's been wonderful except for the internet people showing up. But this is also something I want to say. Susan Cassidy apparently never left New York. She loved the Manhattan life, all right, living in Manhattan. And so I don't know if she's alive. I did not do any further checks. I don't want to give the impression that I'm stalking her or anything. She's just our subject for On the Outskirts of Hollywood today. And there's an invitation, plan9crunch@gmail.com. If she ever wants to contact us, we're glad to talk to her. But we're not going to seek out her. We want to pay tribute to her acting talents.
We are big fans, and we will be very respectful.
Yeah. My hunch is we're not going to hear from her. She seems to, like I said, not been part of the people who have been involved with the Blu-rays, and from these movies that have been found in the last 15 years. There's been several now, but I have not heard her interviewed or anything. I could be wrong, but I just haven't through Google searches and things like that. Well, I think we're just about done here. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Steve?
Well, again, I'm hopeful that maybe Susan will hear what we're doing here, and maybe she'll come forward and we can talk to her and maybe conduct a short interview on Plan 9 Crunch.
That is, if she's alive. She probably is, but I don't know for sure right now. We wanted to pay tribute to her. Great actress, an integral part of early Andy Milligan films. She seemed to have, I think she has great camera presence.
Absolutely.
And your eyes follow her all the time. And
I think she's adorable.
Yeah, and she's a good actress. I don't know why she didn't. It may have been Milligan started to make fewer films, after he got back. And like I said, you were correct in saying that most of his films were done by 1971 or so, although he kept making them up until Surgical in 1989 or 90. But anyways, I'm Planet Nine Crunch, Steve D. Stones, and we're at Planet Nine Crunch on YouTube. Give us a like or subscribe, and we're on TikTok, and we have a planet9crunch.com blog in which Steve has reviewed Torture Dungeon on our blog. And we have a Facebook page, Planet 9 Crunch podcast and blog. Thank you very much, and that's a wrap.
Thanks, everyone.